Good morning, everyone. This is Erica with Aurora Heart Healing, and I am here. Sorry, silencing my phone. I am here to talk about what emotional intelligence is and what emotional awareness is and why is it important. Last night, for a while now, even before some really huge life changes have happened, I've been waking up at 3:30 in the morning every morning. And this morning I woke up at 3 and I just meditated for a few minutes and I was thinking to myself, why do I keep doing this? What's going on? And it was interesting because I opened up my TikTok feed and it opened up to a gentleman talking about if you wake up at 3 a.m., you need to hear this. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm up at 3 a.m. Let me listen to what this guy has to say. And he talked about how people that are working for God, working with God, get woken up at 3 a.m. a lot of the times because there are messages that need to be heard because they are people that are helping him in the battle against entities, darkness. And it really stuck out to me because I have honestly worked with that type of energy, trying to send as much of it back to the light as I possibly can. And after I listened to him and after I had meditated, I was like, that is so weird and synchronistic that the first thing that I open to, that is what is brought to um, my feed. And it's exactly why I've been waking up. And I've been waking up at 3 a.m. for a long time. So when I woke up, I sat into myself and I said, okay, God, what do you want me to know? And I went outside and I sat outside and I stared at the moon and the stars for a little bit. And I just meditated on what it was that I needed to know. And I got the message that I needed to share the reasons why emotional intelligence and emotional awareness is actually so important for our lives. Because this is exactly what I teach every single day of my work. I am teaching people how to become more emotionally intelligent and emotionally aware of not just themselves, but the world around them. I had a client come in and we've been working on the heart wall energies and the heart energies for some time now. And I remember when I had finally cleared all of the walls around my heart, how difficult it was to feel my heart be so expansive. And this client was having a similar experience of having this expansiveness, of being very aware of their surroundings, of everything that was going on in and out of their hearts. And I did a session to ease that because it can be overwhelming. Unfortunately, we on this planet have not experienced the full extent of God's love, and it can be scary sometimes to feel the expansiveness and how beautiful and big God's love really is. And as I was clearing the energies, they started to settle back in and started to understand where that was coming from. And I've had several sessions with different people that have felt that expansiveness. There's been some people that withdraw and they say, this is not for me, and then I don't see them again. But that's okay. That is their journey. And whatever it is that you're called to, maybe they weren't ready at that point in time to feel that type of love and expansiveness. But this person was, and I was very proud of their progress. And I know for myself, that was not an easy transition because I felt all of this love and all of this expansion, and I didn't have anyone to guide me through it. And I'm really happy to have been able to guide. But this brings me back to what I had the message to bring today. So I have a couple of resources. I Googled this. I've learned over the years what emotional awareness and emotional intelligence is, but I wanted to go through Google. And I'm bringing Brene Brown, Atlas of the Heart, as well. This is a meaningful, it's mapping meaningful connection and language for of human experience. So with this book, I'm actually going to pendulum swing and see what it is that needs to be brought forth and what messages are going to be connecting to this emotional awareness subject today. Okay. I'm going to first go through what is emotional awareness. The ability to understand and recognize one's own emotions and the emotions of others. It is important because it cultivates better communication, navigating social situations, and improves the quality of relationships. The different subjects that this helps in: communication. So for better communication skills, emotional awareness is very important. It helps people notice how others are feeling and how that influences their communication. With that, what I readily think of is, let me use me for example. So I have a deep wound of rejection. Rejection has always plagued my life because from a child, I was rejected for being different. I was rejected by my parents in different ways, each of them in their own specific ways, and then my siblings as well. So the way that I communicated my rejection was, I'm going to reject you first. I don't like you. I don't want to work on things. I don't want to talk to you. And it was very much so projecting my rejection wound on others and everyone throughout the world, really. I was not a nice person at all. Today, I do feel more authentically of who I am and who God put me here to be. But before, I was very much so from coming from a very wounded place of rejection. So that created very poor communication skills for myself to others. I remember one time an ex-boyfriend and I had gotten in an argument, and I felt that he was going to leave me, reject me. And when he said that, I went and I crawled under the blankets and I hid in a little ball. And I remember doing that in my childhood a lot. But I hid into a little ball and he tried to pull the covers off of me. And I was like, please leave me alone, please leave me alone. And I was just crying in this little ball and I felt like I was imploding. And he kind of just like, after a minute, he stopped. And then I like peeked through the covers and I was looking, and he said, why did you do that? And obviously, he was a little bit more emotionally intelligent than me at the time because he had very nurturing parents that were very supportive of him. They talked for hours on the phone together, and I've never had that experience with my own parents. But he said, why did you do that? And I was like, because you're going to leave me. And he said, I just want to know how you feel. I just want to talk to you. I just want to know why this is hurting you. And that was one of my first experiences with emotional awareness coming from someone else towards me, and how that was influencing our communication, because I shut down and I didn't want to talk about it. I was just like, no, we're done then. We're done. I don't want to talk about this. I'm done. And he came from a place of unconditional love and understanding. And he was like, I want to know why this is hurting you. I want to understand you better. And I don't want you to feel like you can't talk to me. Next, so Better communication, which I will put all of this in the description so that you can check this out for yourself and look at it and really deep dive, okay? Improved decision making, making better decisions for their lives. So when we come from a place of emotional awareness, we understand that the wound, the pain that we're feeling is might dictate some of the decisions that we're making. So when I, in a previous video, had talked about this, but there was a point in time where my ex-husband and I were having a rough issue, and I was talking to my therapist at the time about it, and she said, "Erica, stop. You are self-sabotaging right now." And I didn't understand what she meant. And she said, "You are coming from a wounded place right now, and that is why you're making this rash decision. You need to stop, see what you're feeling, but actually look at the reality of the situation. This person is present, he's there." And fast forward to now, the decisions that I made from everything that's happened, I've been making decisions from a I'm feeling this way. I understand what I'm feeling. I am not going to make decisions based on my wound of abandonment or my wound of rejection or my wound of misunderstanding. Whatever that wound is, I'm looking at it as, okay, um, I could be chasing, but instead I'm saying, no, I need to look at, is this chasing because I feel lonely or empty? Okay, there's maybe some loneliness, and it would sending a irrational text message be because of my anger or my grief or my resentment? Whatever the case may be, I want to know that I'm showing up coming from improved decisions. My decisions are not based on irrational fears of, well, this always happens, so this is how I'm going to behave myself. Or I'm going to do this before someone else gets the chance to. And improved decision-making skills is super important because we can be very irrational beings when we're coming from a place of wounding. Next is social skills, navigating social situations and the ability to enjoy relationships. With that being said, emotional awareness. What if there are people in your life that you enjoy most of the time with, but your social skills are a little bit lacking? So there's a situation that happens and you react one way and you misread the situation. One of the easiest things to think about is, um, okay, so this morning, I called a friend and she didn't answer. And I was like, I wonder what's going on. So I called her and just, okay, they didn't answer. And later on in the day, I found out that this person had lost a loved one. And my default would be, they don't even care about me. They don't even like me. See, they're just ignoring me. And over the last several weeks, I've noticed more and more some of those social skills for me that I've been defaulting to because I have a lot of wounding, because I am showing up as my authentic self, and I've had rejection and abandonment and unworthiness. When I am looking at those social situations, I see, oh, okay, this person lost someone. It's nothing to do with me. It's everything to do with they need to be a hermit right now. They need to hide, not hide, but they need to isolate right now because they're going through a really deep grieving process. And that's understandable. That therefore allows me to enjoy my relationship with this person more. Another friend of mine, recently, they've been going through a lot of health issues, they've been going through a lot of things, and I've called them and I haven't heard back from them for a while. And at this point, there was a few months back, there was a point where I was like, they just don't like me. They just don't care about me. And within the last few weeks, understanding this emotional awareness and understanding how it improves on my social skills, I'm really coming into the understanding of this person is just in their feels. They need to be away from humanity. They need to be away from society. They need to go within. Even for me, there's been times where I want to be around everybody and I want to be in social gatherings. And then there's other times where I just want to be alone. I don't want to talk to anyone, or I just want to be with my family unit, my children, and talk to them and really navigate what they're feeling. And with that, I see how that is actually helping them in their life because they're actually building deeper connections with others because they are emotionally aware. My youngest daughter and my middle child, they manage their emotions so differently. My youngest daughter, she'll tell me that she's like, hearts on my sleeve, mom, this is what's going on, this is what's happening. I'm missing this person. I'm really angry at this person. I'm upset about this situation. I'm sad about this. And she'll just throw it out there. Well, she actually went to the school herself and she went to make an appointment with the social worker at the school. And she's been seeing the social worker once a week, every week for a little over a month. And the other day we saw her social worker out on the streets and she goes up and she says, "Hey, how are you doing?" And she goes, "Oh my God, Amari, hi." And they just kind of, gave a sweet little hug and then they were off on their separate ways. And she comes up to me and she just says, "She's helped me so much through all of my pain." And it was like, wow. So I'm looking and seeing at how social skills can improve relationships because that emotional awareness, understanding what we feel and being able to express it is important because we could be taking out our anger, our frustration, our jealousy, our envy, all of those feelings that we carry within ourselves, we could be expressing them outward and pushing them onto other people because we're not fully aware of what we are actually feeling. So, social skills, I think that's one of the most imperative things about social or about emotional awareness is because it actually has the ability to affect the relationships that we carry with other people. We can make or break our relationships depending on how emotionally aware we are. Next, better interpersonal relationships. Funny, it comes back into social skills, but this one is improves effectiveness of interactions with others. Just the other day, I was talking to some people. I love to connect with others. It's actually one of my, if you've ever heard of Gallup strengths, it is one of my biggest strengths is creating connection with other people. I completely feel so fulfilled when I feel like I've connected with someone and helped them understand me better or myself had a deeper understanding of who they are and what they need from me and vice versa. Better interpersonal relationships, it improves the interactions with others. So as I have worked with other people, understood them on a deeper level, I feel very fulfilled when I am able to show up authentically and say, this is who I am, this is what's going on. Judge me not, whichever one you prefer, but this is my authentic self. And I remember some time ago, where shame and guilt and anger with myself and frustration and low self-esteem and self-abuse all kept me in a box where I couldn't talk about what I felt. It was genuinely not just uncomfortable, but almost felt painful, like physically painful to talk about what I felt. And as I've continued to learn and to grow and to build different relationships with other people, I've been able to see my connections and my communities thrive. And I will say, I have communities a little bit scattered all over the place, but there is a deep value from each of the places that I have relationships, wherever they may be. So, better interpersonal relationships is something that emotional awareness actually brings to us. We have community to fall back on and support us through some of those difficult times. We can create better advice. I would not, um, I wouldn't ask some of my high school friends what they think about relationship advice because some of them may be on drugs. Maybe they've never had a substantial relationship. And as I'm looking right now, I'm actually very much so ingrained in a lot of different business groups. And in those business groups, when I speak to these people, they are highly intelligent, very emotionally aware, and very emotionally intelligent. And I can speak to them on a different level because they have to be aware. When a lot of people, and no judgment or anything if you're a 9 to 5 worker or not, but a lot of people that do work 9 to 5, you don't have to engage in the same way because you're not having to create connection in the same way. As a business owner, I thrive, and most business owners that I know of were thriving on relationship because with relationship comes referrals, comes more people that understand what we do and how we want to better the world or share our gifts and our talents. Creating those relationships is imperative, not just for ourselves, but for our businesses to thrive. And when we cannot effectively interact with others, talk to people on this very genuine level and authentic level, then it kind of falls short. It can kind of feel a little bit stagnant, just that kind of like, oh, hi and bye kind of thing. It sometimes lacks the depth that's needed to be able to say, I trust you. I trust what you do. I trust who you are, and I'm willing to send people that I know and care about to you because I trust who you are. And creating those deep relationships is important because not only not only in the business sense, but as a person, I feel very honored when people refer people to me because they say, that is saying, I trust you. I trust who you are. I trust what you do. I trust what you have to say. And I trust the wisdom that you have to impart on others. And coming from an emotionally aware place really helps us understand and create those deeper connections. What is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is the ability to manage both our own emotions and understand the emotions of the people around us. That is very much my life as an empath and intuitive. What I do is I help people navigate their emotional state of being. I am able to recognize and pull emotions and say, okay, these are the ways that you're feeling. These are the things that are yours. These are the things that actually come from a generational standpoint, that this didn't start with you, but you can end it. This comes from maybe another lifetime that people were feeling these energies, these emotions. And as people of layers, we can continue to clear those layers and not feel so foggy with who we want to show up as, what we have to offer, because we understand our own emotions, and that fogginess that is cleared when we understand ourselves deeper, we can actually identify the feelings of other people as well. There is a shielding video that I will put in the comments as well, or in the description, so that you can, excuse me, you can look at the shielding video. But some in the beginning, and I'll be honest, over the last month, because my shield has been a little bit more weakened because of my emotional state, um, some people can feel everyone's emotions all at once, and it can become overwhelming, and it can cause panic attack, anxiety attack. I really do believe that agoraphobia comes from that, from what I've seen and what I've understood. People that cannot really navigate the emotions, or they just completely numb down and shut down because they just don't want to handle it. They don't necessarily know how to navigate it. Maybe it's not that they don't want to, it's just that they don't know. Um, so navigating and understanding the emotions of yourself and the people around you. And that separation of energy can help you really understand what is yours that's you're taking on, and then what is other people's that you might be pulling from. The Four Pillars of Emotional Intelligence, which was a really cool little article that I read, but I'm just going to give a synopsis. What is emotional intelligence? The ability to manage both your own emotions and understand the emotions of people around you. When I think back to my ex-boyfriend, he was very emotionally intelligent, and I was not. So he understood how it made him feel like I was unsafe. And as my boyfriend, he wanted to protect me. And he also understood how I felt to the capacity that I was able to express it. So he told me, "Why did you do that?" And I said, "Because I don't want to talk about it." So he knew that I was not in a place where I could be emotionally vulnerable with him. And recognizing the our own emotions is one of the four pillars of emotional intelligence. It is the ability, the self-awareness. Self-awareness is the ability to recognize your own emotions. And at that time, I had no ability to recognize my own emotions. For a long time, I didn't, because I numbed with marijuana. I'm numbed with weed, or with drinking. Even though I've never been a heavy drinker, I did numb with drinking. I numbed, I just wouldn't deal with it. I would say, I'll put that to later. This is their fault, not taking accountability for maybe the way I felt or the actions that I made to lead me to that space. Um, so the first pillar of emotional awareness or emotional intelligence is self-awareness. The second pillar, oh, and I don't want to forget this, understanding how our emotions influence our actions. So if we're coming from a place of numb or a place of loss, how is that influencing your actions? The second pillar is self-regulation, managing emotions in a healthy way and adapting to changing circumstances. Managing our emotions in a healthy way is drinking, taking a shot a healthy way. Probably not. Is taking a blunt to the face a healthy way? Probably not. Is working out for hours and hours on end and ignoring our emotions a healthy way to deal and understand our own emotions? Probably not. I do think that working out is very much so a healthy way. This morning I did a Qigong practice and I feel more vibrant, but I have seen people go for 4 hours to the gym, not an ounce of fat in their body, but they're still in this feeling of I'm not comfortable in my own skin. And that is an unhealthy way. We can deal with them in healthy ways or we can deal with them in healthy ways. Finding that balance as everything is so important because if you're going to the gym for hours on end, but you still don't feel right within yourself, then you might be avoiding the feelings through the working out and not processing the feelings through working out. Um, Number three, empathy, understanding other people's emotions to and offering comfort and support. Empathy is such a huge thing because one thing that I learned through my training in the compassion key is sitting with someone that may have opposing feelings than you, but just understanding that that's what they feel and that's okay is huge. Before, for a long time, I would really, really try to change the way someone felt. And I think that that was something that I'm learning now more than anything is how someone feels is how someone feels. And no matter what I do, I can't help them change it if they don't want to. If someone feels left out, then I can sit there and say, I'm sorry you felt left out, validate the emotion, but it is up to them to change the way that they feel or to recognize their own self-awareness. Oh, okay, they're here for me even though I feel left out. And that is a huge changing point for me, understanding that we can offer comfort and support. It may not always be received in the way that we would like, but we can always offer it. The last pillar is social skills, building and maintaining relationships through effective communication. If you cannot communicate the way that you feel, then the relationship is dying after each conflict, after each disagreement, after each misunderstanding. And that is something that takes two, but also how are those social skills affecting relationships? And it could be deeply affecting a relationship if we're not emotionally aware of what those hurts are. I am going to move to Brene Brown. She has been someone I've been studying for a long time. I absolutely love her. Is it here? And I'm pendulum looking for the emotions, for what it is that we need to know. Because I think that whatever it is, it's going to relate to what it is that we're talking about. Okay, so I found the page. If anyone has Brene Brown, Atlas of the Heart, I will put the book in the description below as well. And this is page 172. Okay. A couple of serious watch-outs when it comes to disconnection. The first comes from a researcher, Trisha Rock Bogdan. She writes, to avoid the pain and vulnerability that may result when our efforts to achieve connection are unsuccessful, individuals may enact their own disconnection strategies, such as hiding parts of themselves or discounting their need for others. They may learn that it is safer to keep their feelings and thoughts to themselves rather than sharing them in their relationship. This means that rather than making a bid for connection and having the bid ignored or rejected, we hide out or pretend we don't need anyone. I think most of us have done this. I literally said this in the beginning of the video, so it's super funny that I'm finding this right now. I know I have, and it's a recipe for loneliness and for me, blame. I can withhold a bid for connection, then blame someone else for not responding. It's a lot of scrambling to avoid being hurt, and it doesn't even work. The second watch out is about perfectionism. Still need to, okay, so we still need to read this. The second watch out is about perfectionism. There's actually a perfectionism social disconnection model. And this research shows that people who are high on the perfectionistic trait scale behave in ways that cause perceived and actual exclusion or rejection by others. In other words, my perfectionism drives me to show up in a way that lead people to push me away. This doesn't surprise me, but it's still painful to think about because ultimately our perfectionism is about trying to avoid being excluded or rejected. Even though I have studied some of these topics for years, the process of writing this book led me to make connections and see relationships that have escaped me, such as the symmetry of these feelings. Authenticity is required for belonging, and fitting in is a threat. Authenticity is required for belonging. We have to show up authentically as ourselves, the way that we feel, and fitting in is a threat. Authenticity is a requirement for connection, and perfectionism is a threat. Is there more that we need to know? Have we passed it? Is it in here? Is it here? Is it in this part of the book? Is it in this part of the book? Okay. Is it here? Is it here? I'm just looking for what we are supposed to know from this book. Happiness. Is it the first, second? Is it this first one? Okay. We need happy moments. This is page 207 in the Brene Brown book. We need happy moments and happiness in our lives. However, I'm growing more convinced that the pursuit of happiness may get in the way of deeper, more meaningful experiences like joy and gratitude. I know from my research and my experiences that when it comes to parenting, what makes children happy in the moment is not always what leads them to developing deeper joy, grounded confidence, and meaningful connection. Is there anything else we need to know about this? Is there more that we need to know? Okay, I'm going to read. Have we passed it? Here, 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 here. Foreboding joy. Foreboding joy. When I give, should I read the whole thing? Okay, I'm going to read the whole thing. When I give talks, and this is page 215 for anyone that has this. When I give talks, people always seem surprised by the finding that joy is the most vulnerable human emotion. Given that I study fear and shame, people are hesitant to believe that something as positive as joy can make us squirm. Then I share what is most certainly the most surprising finding for most people. If you're afraid to lead lean into good news, wonderful moments, and joy. If you find yourself waiting for the other shoe to drop, you are not alone. It's called foreboding joy, and most of us experience it. This is when things get really quiet. I think it's funny because I'm a very much so optimistic person, and when I meet people that are in this foreboding joy place, I'm like, but maybe there is no other shoe to drop. Foreboding joy is one of those practically universal experiences that everyone thinks of as something only they do. A few people don't experience it, but most of us do. And when it comes to parents, 95% of the parents we interviewed experienced foreboding joy with their children. When we lose our tolerance for vulnerability, joy becomes foreboding. No emotion is more frightening than joy because we feel if we allow ourselves to feel joy, we are inviting disaster. We start dress rehearsing tragedy in the moment, in the best moments of our lives, in order to stop vulnerability from beating us to the punch. We are terrified of being blindsided by pain. We also practice tragedy and trauma, but that's at a huge cost. When we push away joy, we squander the goodness that we need to build resilience, strength, and courage. The good news? In our research, we found that everyone who showed a deep capacity for joy had one thing in common. They practiced gratitude. In the midst of joy, there's often a shiver, a shudder of vulnerability. Rather than using this as a warning sign to practice imagining the worst case scenario, the people who lean into joy use the quiver as a reminder to practice gratitude. Is there anything else that we need to know in this book? Okay, we are all done. I will leave all of this information in the description below. I hope that this was very helpful in understanding why emotional awareness and emotional intelligence is important for us in our lives, how maybe not understanding how being vulnerable with the way that we feel is actually stopping us from being joyful, and how this can be affecting us in so many different ways. I love you all. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found this informative, and I hope that this helps you gain a deeper understanding and a deeper love for who you are, and to help you show up authentically, because that's all we want, is to be who we are and be loved for it. I love you for who you are. I love you for what you have to offer this world. And I hope that one day, if you need it, if you find resistance to these things, you schedule your one-to-one so that we can uncover the authentic self of who you are, and we can clear the emotions that are stopping you from creating deep, meaningful connections with not just yourself, but with others as well. Thank you, Erica, for Aurora Heart Healing.